So, I think it's safe to say the Switch 2 hype has taken a bit of a hit lately. Not necessarily because of the hardware or the games, which people seem generally excited for, but because of one thing that just won't stop making headlines: the price. Yeah, pricing has become the hot topic, and not in a good way. And to make matters worse, Nintendo's been making the PR rounds lately, and let's just say, not all of it has landed well. Doug Bowser, president of Nintendo of America, gave an interview that's really gotten people talking, and not in the way Nintendo was probably hoping for. So today I want to dive into what was said, why it's drawing comparisons to one of the most infamous console launch moments in gaming history, and just how this could affect the Switch 2's rollout moving forward. If you're enjoying the content, drop a like, sub if you're new, and let's get into it. So, let's set the stage a bit. Doug Bowser sat down for an interview with CBC. This was back on April 2nd, right after the big Switch 2 reveal. Now that's important to note, because it was before all the chaos started around tariffs and potential import costs. That stuff came after. This interview had been embargoed until earlier this week, so the timing of its release has definitely helped stir the pot. Nintendo, from what I can tell, probably thought they were getting ahead of the narrative, keeping the conversation going and building hype. But what's actually happened is, well, let's just say the internet isn't thrilled. So here's the part of the interview that's got people riled up. Bowser was asked about the Switch 2's price, $450, which, yeah, is on the high end, especially for Nintendo. For a company that's historically prided itself on being the more affordable gaming option, that number raised some eyebrows. And Bowser's response? We believe the pricing is appropriate for the value of the machine and the gameplay experience. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available, so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe. Yeah, that did not go over well. If that quote sounds familiar, it's probably because it's eerily close to one of the most infamous quotes in gaming history. Don Matrix. We have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360. That was during the botched Xbox One rollout, where Microsoft was pushing always online features and a camera that had to be connected. When people pushed back and said, "Hey, what if I don't have internet access?" the answer was basically, well, too bad. Play the old console. Bowser's quote here isn't as aggressive or dismissive, but it gives off similar vibes. It just feels a little out of touch. Like, hey, if you can't afford the new thing, we still have the old one, from 2017. And listen, most of us already have a Switch. Some people have more than one. It's not like we're hearing about the Switch for the first time. So being told, essentially, just stick with what you've got, doesn't feel helpful. It feels a bit tone-deaf. But here's the thing. People aren't necessarily mad that the Switch 2 is $450. Sure, it's higher than expected, but once you look at the specs and what this system might actually be capable of, some folks are starting to say, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. It's the games that are sparking the real backlash. We're talking $80 for base games now. $80. And that's just for the standard edition. That's the same pricing we're seeing from PlayStation and Xbox Deluxe editions in some cases. And if Mario Kart World is the first big $80 game from Nintendo, you better believe people are gonna notice. Mario Kart's a massive title. It's not some niche release you can quietly price hike. This sets the standard, and that's what people are reacting to. When you factor in that the current generation already had a $10 jump, from $60 to $70, that was already tough for some people to swallow. But jumping to $80? It's a huge leap, and it makes you wonder where we're heading in just a few more years. Now, Nintendo's argument is that the Switch 2 offers value for its price. And to be fair, early impressions seem to back that up. Developers have reportedly been saying it's like developing for a mid-range PC. We're seeing comparisons to PS4 and even PS5 visuals. That's a huge jump from the original Switch, which, even at launch, was already behind the competition in terms of power. So in that context, $450 doesn't sound quite as crazy. When you look at the market, PS5 digital is $450, Series X is $500, and even the more powerful handheld PCs like the ROG Ally or Steam Deck OLED are around $600 to $800. Still, it's Nintendo. This is the company known for undercutting the competition. And right now, the only cheaper system they offer is a Switch from 7 years ago. It's not a great look when your only answer to affordability is outdated hardware. That's why Bowser's quote hit so hard. It wasn't just what he said, it's what he didn't say. This was a golden opportunity for the good old PR non-answer. You know, something like, "We believe in the value of the Switch 2 and are working to ensure everyone can experience it over time." Boom. Done. Nobody gets mad. You don't throw your own old hardware under the bus, and you don't make people feel like second-class citizens because they can't afford your newest toy. Instead, he gave a very clear answer. And unfortunately, it was the wrong one. Here's the bottom line. Nintendo needs to tread carefully right now. The Switch 2 could be a huge success. It's certainly positioned well in terms of hardware. The developer buzz is positive. First-party games will definitely deliver, no question there. But if the PR and pricing strategies don't evolve fast, this hype could keep slipping. We're already seeing friction around subscription services, online play still being locked behind a paywall, and now $80 game pricing. People are doing the math, and it's not pretty. If Nintendo wants to avoid stumbling into the same mess Xbox found itself in back in 2013, they're going to have to be smarter with their messaging. It's not enough to say, "Trust us, it's worth it." You've got to actually show us it's worth it, and do it without brushing off the concerns of the millions of fans who got you to this point in the first place. Anyway, that's where we're at. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is the $450 price tag a deal breaker for you? Are you more frustrated by the price of the games? Or do you think Nintendo's still on track for a big win with the Switch 2? As always, thanks for watching. Drop a like if you found this interesting, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.